I would say there's almost a law. It's a law that I don't like, but I have to admit there is such a law, or a principle perhaps, and that is that entertainment content drives out educational content. It's more exciting, it's more interesting to audiences, and so when audiences have a choice, and this is true in my own country where educational television is watched by a very small percent, 1% of our national audience, while the other 99% are watching commercial entertainment television. That was a surprise also in the U.S. That was not what was expected, but it did happen. So I think the principle, which I don't like, but which I recognize, is that entertainment sort of beats out educational content. Now, maybe there's a possibility, I think there is, and I hope we'll return to this issue in our discussion today, of making educational content entertaining, mixing the two together subtly, so that what looks like entertainment content also has some educational content. My interest had begun somewhat earlier. This would have been about the mid-70s, and at that time I was teaching at Stanford University. A master's student at Stanford from Mexico had worked for Televisa, the Mexican television company. And in his master's thesis, one of the chapters dealt with Simplemente Maria, this rather fabulous and yet to this day one of the great soap operas of all time in Latin America. So his chapter was about the impacts that it had in Mexico. It was the Cinderella story of a slum girl who came to work in a rich household, became a very good seamstress, a good stitcher, used a Singer sewing machine in the program. Of course, there was some emotion in the program. She fell in love with the rich family's son. They could not marry, of course, naturally. This is a soap opera, after all. And it appealed to vast audiences in Latin America. It set the highest rating records of its time. This was in the early 70s in Latin America. The surprise was that this commercial entertainment program began to sell very large numbers of Singer sewing machines. In whatever country this program was shown, the sale of Singer sewing machines went up through the roof. Not of any kind of sewing machine, but of Singer sewing machine. And it represents, at least in our recounting of the series of historical events, the evolution of entertainment education, it was a key event. It wasn't intentional entertainment education, but it was entertainment education by our definition, and it was very influential on Miguel Sabido, the Televisa official who became intrigued by Simplemente Maria, and out of that eventually came his own television soap operas based on a formula or a means of producing them and designing them based on social science theory that has come to be copied very widely. This, of course, is Miguel Sabido, and incidentally, Miguel Sabido had been the boss of the Stanford MA student that got me interested in this whole thing in the first place. The first soap opera in Mexico was called, in Spanish, Ven Conmigo, Come With Me, and it concerned an adult literacy class. It was a soap opera with emotion and passion and theatrical content. But it also subtly promoted very much the idea of participating in adult literacy classes. The implied message was you can, despite many day-to-day difficulties, participate and become literate. And the aggregate data about the effects of this program in Mexico, this was broadcast again in the late mid-70s, was that it led about another 1 million people to enroll in adult literacy classes. There had been an enrollment of about 4 million, and it took it up to about 5 million. Now, as a social scientist, I have to point out that that's, of course, a very big increase. That same year, there was a national literacy campaign in Mexico with other media. Well, it was part of a campaign, so it happened that this program was being broadcast at the same time that these other influences were happening. The answer to the question of how much effect did the soap opera have then rests on gathering data from each of a sample of participants and determining from them whether they also were exposed to these other influences. In fact, I can't think of anything to compare to it. You know, I can't think of any other type of communication activity today that is as advanced in its use of communication theories, useful application of them, in its use of research methods like formative evaluation, all aimed in the direction of making effective programs that have effects that bring about social changes. So entertainment education is a rather special example of hybrid vigor of various kinds in itself. Perhaps it's all said best in Dr. Martine Bouwman's PhD dissertation at the University of Wageningen in the Netherlands. Her dissertation, the main title is The Turtle and the Peacock? The Peacock and the Turtle. And the peacock, of course, seems to represent symbolically the artistic community of producers, scriptwriters, directors, and so on. And without that, there would be no entertainment education. It wouldn't be as effective as it has been and is and promises to be if it were not for the turtles. And the turtles, I guess, are people like us who do scholarly studies of the effects of entertainment education, who have theories of human behavior change, who have research methods to enable us to measure these effects or changes in human behavior, and thus for the worldwide community of entertainment education to be a self-learning system where as each year goes by we learn more and more about how to make more and more effective entertainment education. This, of course, wouldn't work. These are very unlike sets of people. Peacocks and turtles don't talk much to each other, but the two communities involved in entertainment education have to talk to each other, have to work together, have to also work together across national boundaries, cultural boundaries, all kinds of language differences. So it is also sort of a triumph of human society worldwide that entertainment education has evolved in the successful way that it has and with a rich potential beyond.